I joined the Royal Ballet School in 2014, so I guess I've been here now 6 years. They've gone very quickly. I consider it to be probably one of the best jobs I've ever had, working with an amazing team of people throughout these 6 years, albeit that some people changed throughout the time that I've been here. So the Royal Ballet School is an 8-year training program from the ages of 11 through to 19. We have 2 sites for the actual school and education. One is White Lodge in the middle of Richmond Park. It's an old hunting lodge, Royal Hunting Lodge, and this is where we have approximately 130 students from the ages of 11 to 16. They're all boarding here, apart from a few day students that live close by. The upper school is approximately 85 students, and they are housed in a fantastic facility in the centre of London, next to Covent Garden and the Royal Opera House, and it has the Bridge of Aspiration that joins the school to the company, where of course where all the inspiration is. When I joined the school, we had a few projects that were underway, and I joined in with, which one was to create this new boarding facility, which is fabulous. It's in the centre of town, and thanks to the incredible generosity of O.G. Ebsen, one of our donors, we were able to make this come to life. It's now a building, boarding facility that houses some 60 students, our staff, and our first and second years from the upper school. Another one of my projects was that I was really keen to do was to build a healthcare program that suited and supported these great elite athletes that are in training. I think for so long dancers have missed out on having that support system in place, that team of people that not just their dance teachers but also a team of people that will help their physical and mental well-being. And especially in today's times, young people are living a very different life to my time. They're having to deal with different pressures, different anxieties, and I felt very strongly that if you're training at such an intense level to become some of the best dancers in the world and all the pressures that come with that, I really wanted to see a program that could best help them go through that training and give them the tools and foundations and building blocks to become, as I say, and to survive a great career as a top dancer. So the range now we employ from, of course, physiotherapists, Pilates teachers, strength and conditioning, sports scientists, we have counsellors, we have doctors, we have nurses. Across both sites, we have equipped the students with their own individual programs. So I suppose a student coming into a school, we all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and especially a young child growing up through the years, growth spurts, dealing with the challenges of being a teenager. This all needs support, and then how they tackle, of course, the intense training that they have to undergo. So this team works very closely now, and I'm really pleased, really closely with our fantastic team of teachers. They speak to each other weekly. They talk about each individual student and all of the successes, but also some of the struggles that these students have, and they try and build a special program around each individual so that as they go through various stages, they can obviously improve not just physically, but also improve their mental skills, and also we can understand them better so that they're looked after properly and nurtured through this program. I think just in life anyway, I think it's important to have that. So very valuable program, one I think the school is super proud of. Again, thanks to some incredible donors and supporters, we're able to run this program to help the students through their course of their training at the school. What I'm very keen to do for a school, a top school like the Royal Ballet School, is very much to look at the work field, what it is directors are looking for, the kind of dancers that they need, not just to fill the principal roles, but also to be able to be a good company member and contribute to that creative work field. Now, the demands on a dancer of today have changed significantly, I believe. The demands on the physique the extremes, the flexibility, where a choreographer wants to take a physique or an artist. I believe those demands have have increased, but also the versatility of a dancer is really important. And if we think about the big classical companies, even the Royal Ballet Company, they're tackling some seriously good and challenging contemporary works. Hoffer Schechter, of course Wayne McGregor. These kind of choreographers will test the physique and the artistry of any dancer. So with that in mind, and maintaining, of course, true classicism and trying to keep our dancers at the very top of classical ballet training, I need them also to be versatile. So I have to adapt our whole training program, or to look at our training program, so we can help them at least have the foundations to then enter a company and be able to enjoy and contribute to those kind of works. And I feel now dancers, and they come from all over the world, not just from White Lodge, as we go through the years and into the upper school. We have to help them align their different backgrounds and training, physiques, artistry, and help them become those smart dancers to be able to have a long career. And again, that's also aligned with our healthcare program. I think the whole holistic approach to training is really, really important so that they can have a long and really enjoyable career. We're the school of the Royal Ballet Company and the Birmingham Royal Ballet. We very much enjoy that relationship, which is very, very strong. I'm thrilled with the way that Kevin O'Hare engages with the school. He's passionate about the kids, he's passionate about the school, and we have a great communication between the two of us. I have an awful lot of respect for what he's achieved, but also his care, his good care of the school, and the value, I suppose, of building dancers not just through the school but into the company, into the ranks of the company. I think you can see by the number of dancers that have come from the school into the company that is still true today, as it was going back all the way to 1931 when the company started. Carlos Acosta, of course, has just started, very exciting with Birmingham Royal Ballet. I do feel a little bit sorry for him because he started just before COVID struck, which has been, I'm sure, a huge challenge for him and a huge disappointment for him, because I think he had all these really wonderful plans, definitely passionate about the new vision, and he still hasn't yet been able to have a full grasp on that. However, he's very interested in the school. I've had some great conversations with him, and hopefully once we come out of lockdown, he will be able to come into the school. He's even talked about coaching as well, which would be fantastic inspiration for the kids. So that leads me on, I suppose, to, as they go through the training, our whole purpose in the end really is for our students to be able to maximize on their talent and their potential, and to take that forward and to secure some of the best jobs in the world in some of the best companies in the world. So yes, of course, the Royal Ballet, through this fantastic and very positive program that the O.G. Ebsen Young Dancers program, thanks to O.G. Ebsen again for her great support of the school and the companies. And of course Birmingham Royal Ballet, of course, as well, and they have a huge track record of employing students from the school, and I'm really pleased, and I want to maintain that. It's not just the Royal Ballet companies that we hope to find employment for our students. There are many fabulous companies all around the world. The big classical companies, but also occasionally we're going to get a student, and we've had one recently that actually starts to really enjoy the contemporary work more, and a little bit undecided. And recently one of our students found a place with Netherlands Dance Theatre. It's amazing. He was an incredible mover, really enjoying now being part of one of the world's greatest contemporary companies. We feel very fortunate that I would say that over the last 10, 12 years, possibly longer, that our students are able to find employment. That's always hugely satisfying to see them take that next step and move into the professional world. For them to find employment, of course, when they get to the third year, we help them. We like them to be independent. We like them to take charge of their applications, of their communications with the companies. We, of course, help them to build up a CV and a video and go through the process of what they need to do. However, it is really nice when they can take charge of it themselves. A lot of directors do get in touch with us. I hope because we have the standard here at the school. I think they have a respect for the Royal Ballet School and our students. But equally, the students go out to the companies. I think it's also important that students do go to the companies so that they understand the environment that they are hopefully looking to find a job in and to see if it's a fit. But of course, some directors, if they're passing through London, they will come to the school to see our students, and sometimes they offer employment there and then, or sometimes they invite them to come to the companies to take class with their other dancers to see if that's going to be a fit. There are many different styles of classical ballet, and I'm not going to say either one is right or wrong. And of course, the English ballet style is made up of several different styles historically. But as we're moving forward, we need to look at what the Royal Ballet Company's style continues to be, and I talk with the directors of the company, and are we still providing a good enough foundation of training and also that fits the English style, and I believe we are, and we want to hold true to that. However, if we're looking at trying to find a way to help these students to have long careers, to be technically capable, to avoid injury, to be also be these great artists that they will hopefully become, to give them all of those foundations and building blocks, then I think we have to keep looking at the way in which we teach. Also how we connect with students. I think in the past, I definitely lived this, that we were very much just instructed. We were told what to do. However, I think today we very much want to include the student in that education process. It's important that they understand their body, their mind, how it works, to understand the technique, to understand musicality, coordination, and how they can help themselves to train themselves going forward. So teachers, I think, at this school are very good at that. They're very good at including the student in the learning process, and we encourage them to do so. We've got some excellent teachers that are hugely passionate and dedicated and actually got open minds. And I suppose, like the students, I am a big fan of being curious in life, to not sit still and just take it, oh, because so-and-so told me it was this way, and so-and-so told so-and-so it was this way, that it should be this way. I think we really need to understand what it is we are teaching and understand who's in front of us. Not just what it says here and what it says there. You have to look in the room and you have to see the students in front of you and what they need, and that can vary year in, year out. So in the beginning, we also took the system of training and we decided to throw it up in the air and to look at every aspect of it. And I think actually if it was meant to stay there, it was meant to stay there, but we actually reviewed it and simplified it. So there was a little bit more scope for the teachers to take charge of that process and to, work with the students in the room, in the classroom, throughout their year of training them. There's always a lot of talk about the pros and cons to competitions, and I've fully involved myself in that in the years that I've been teaching and now directing, both at Dutch National Ballet Academy and here at the Royal Ballet School. And yes, I do have strong views about it, but I actually do think competitions can be fantastic platforms for these kids. They can go there, they can have an amazing experience, and I truly believe competition leaders and teams are actually trying to facilitate kids so that they can have a great experience in education, inspiration and experience. They're great educators. So these students do go to these competitions and generally have a fantastic time. Where I do struggle is when that becomes everything. Everybody is always training a student necessarily just for that solo or those solos, and that becomes a little bit the training program for them. Here at the Royal Ballet School, and I'm sure at other top schools, we're trying to give them a holistic approach to their training and education. trying to facilitate a dancer, trying to help a dancer to learn all of the tools that they need to be a professional dancer, but a professional member of a company and can contribute to that environment. And I think that's really important because, yes, there's solos, there's variations to learn, but there's also pas de deux, there's repertoire, there's improvisation, there's contemporary, on top of their classical basic foundation training. So there's so much that you need to fit in. We also have a very strong choreographic program through the school, which we're very proud of. So it brings out the creativity in our dancers as well. And as you say, Christopher Wilden has gone on to be one of the best choreographers in the world. And we hope that the future of dance will fall to some of our students as they move forward into the profession and beyond their dancing days and become the choreographers of the next generation. So my worry only with competition sometimes is because it can be that people can get too focused in on winning and fine-tuning that variation so that they do win. And I appreciate the value of that. I suppose one of my concerns has been, and it's shared by many people, and I'm only a voice, I think, for a number of people in the profession, is age-appropriate vocabulary. How much do you give a young person and when? And I think, of course, there are different schools of thought, and I say this is just my opinion. I think sometimes we can be slightly over-ambitious, and we see sometimes children tackling, I would say, vocabulary that is slightly beyond their years. And you have to just ask the question, why? Do we really need to do that now? Because I've seen kids burn out at the age of 15, the most sensational talent, but maybe just done too much too soon. They've got a whole career ahead of them. So I find great value in building up their foundations carefully, steadily, so that then they can bloom as they turn into the adult, into the profession. However, you can't also hold back sometimes a huge talent, and we see many of them out there and they just are able to do it. And why would you hold that back? Competitions in themselves, I think, can be fantastic, and it's a great place to meet other friends, to compare yourself, to see where you sit in the industry and in the standard-wise, to meet some new teachers, to dance on stage, and also, of course, there's so many scholarships and offers that come from directors that go to these competitions. And I will go to competitions. I do see their worth, and I am, but as long as it's done appropriately. We're also doing a lot of research, because I think dance is not developed enough yet, and I think there's a lot of research still so that we can understand better how we can help improve the training. And so we are aligned with a few universities. We've joined forces with them to look into the impact of dance training, the intensity of dance training. For example, jumping. I think they jump 4 times more than any other sport, a dancer in a studio, which is, for me, fascinating. And then that just goes to show, and then that's a young body, goes to show the kind of pressures and impact that they're having on the lower limbs. And there was always a period a couple of decades ago where a lot of people were struggling with the lower limb, and hopefully we can then counter that in their healthcare program and build up some strength so that they can manage the load rather than just relying on the ballet class to do that. I think there's much more to the training of a top dancer of today that can support the classroom and the technique, the classical technique. When we're talking about training the body with the healthcare program and helping the students physically going through the years of increased vocabulary demands, physical demands, and them growing up physically and how we can help them, that is only there, as I say, as a foundation so that they can become the great artists and creative people that they want to be. Within our program, of course, there's a huge amount of time and effort that goes into giving them the space to be great artists, to understand musicality, to understand the roles that they will eventually, hopefully, be able to dance, to find their own individuality, I think is really important. Who are they, and what do they want to contribute to the art form? And the value and of stagecraft and being on stage, and how you can portray a character, a mood, an emotion, a feeling, is vitally important for these young dancers. So yeah, we've got on one side an elite athlete, an Olympian, and we've also got on the other side a great artist as well, and you need to combine the two. So the foundations are important so that they are physically able to produce the technique, but equally it's really important that they're able to be expressive dancers, and there's a huge respect for that, of course, within an institute like the Royal Ballet School. We have programs. There's a wonderful program which I absolutely adore, which is the Lynn Seymour Award, and it's for second years, but it's competition. It's an event that the kids they have to pick a solo of their choice. It can be anything, and of course, since social media in the last few years is there, I mean, the number of choices they've got, they can look up anything. So they need to find something that is a variation, and that they feel that they want to dance and perform in front of an audience, but not about the technique. This is purely about the artistry, about being expressive, about, so what are they attracted to? Sometimes it's something historic from the heritage repertoire, and sometimes it'll be something very contemporary and a physical feeling that they want to show. They have to rehearse it themselves, they have to learn it, they have to rehearse it themselves, teachers are not allowed to help them, and then what's fantastic is some of the directors will come in and they will give feedback, and I think that's what's important. So they will perform their solo in front of, this year it was Zenaida Janowski, Carlos Acosta and Kevin O'Hare. The three of them came, they looked at their solos, and then afterwards they gave them feedback about what they felt came across and how they can possibly improve some of the artistry in that variation of their choice. It's a great event, and it's amazing what they come up with. It really is. There's some stunning performances. So the 18th of March 2020, almost a year ago, dare I say it, was the first lockdown that we experienced here in the UK. And of course, this is a global crisis. And a terrible time, really, really terrible time, and a very worrying period, because of course kids had to go home. They weren't able to access studios, or very few were, and started to work in their living rooms, in their kitchens, in the smallest of spaces in some situations. One of the first things we had to do was actually to get all of our international students home, and that was quite a challenge, because everything was locking down, and we needed to get them back to their families. So that was our first job, to get people home. And then we had to think of how we can continue training and educating. Now, there's one thing putting academics through, of course, something like Teams, Microsoft Teams, and able to talk, or through Zoom, but able to talk to the student and still to pass on their written work, homework, education. But to dance, how are they going to dance at home? So, like everybody in the world, you find ways, and we did. And I have to applaud the students, because they were amazing. They are so disciplined and so focused that they just got on with it. Our teachers also, I think, and I think there has to be a huge round of applause for all the teachers out there, as well as the students, because they also had to adapt. So they had to go home, and they suddenly had to bring their classes into their private spaces, and they had to teach also in limited spaces on computers that they just weren't used to teaching on. I mean, there are people that stand in a studio and work face to face and in contact with their class. They don't sit on technology all day. So suddenly they had to embrace new technology, the Zoom, the camera, and I think it's very scary for a lot of teachers. I think they really were thrown and nervous of what this would do and whether they could do it or not. And oh my goodness, just linking into a Zoom meeting was a Zoom call was a challenge to start with. However, they did it, and I'm super proud of everybody at the school, as I am, I think, around the world. So everybody went home, everybody started these ballet classes at home. Of course, there's only so much you can do. Totally in a way, if they started jumping, that wasn't safe, so we had to rethink the classes, how we could keep them fit, how we could keep their foundation training going, how we could keep them also stimulated, inspired, and that for young people, I think, has also been a massive challenge, not just in dance, but I think in every sector. I think children have faced one of the most difficult times mentally, creating anxieties and the social impact it's had on them, where they're not able to socialize anymore with their friends, or there's no human contact in that respect. Has been a massive challenge, and I think it remains a massive challenge, and we've got to do everything we can to bring them out of lockdown and back into what is going to be the new reality, and help them through that process. I do not underestimate it at all. I think it's had a massive impact on them. This second lockdown has been tough because it's the winter months, it's the second time around. I think people are very tired. I know there's only so much you can do on Zoom. There's Zoom fatigue. We'll call it Zoom fatigue. But I know for the students, also the teachers, it's been tough, I think, for everybody. However, the spirit of the school has stood strong, and we're getting through it. I think we're turning a corner now, and with any luck, Boris will open schools up in early March. That's my fingers crossed for that. The biggest worry for me during this second lockdown, to be honest, has been our graduating year, our third years. This is many sleepless nights over this. How are we going to help them find a way into the work field, and already a very challenged work field? I know a lot of companies may not have contracts, understandably. They're trying to look after their own dancers or even get them back. Budgets will be affected negatively by this crisis, for sure, and that's not just this year. This will go on for several years to come, I'm sure. And then how are they going to audition, and how are they going to stay fit to be able to audition? So we've got our third years that had to go home. They're again back in their kitchens training, and I've been trying, our team, we have been trying really, really hard to find a way to get them back into the studio so they can train, so they can get fit, so they can feel good about themselves, and so that they can actually, even if they have to Zoom audition, they were able to do so. But at the moment they can't do anything, and we can't find a way to do that. Of course, we want to stay in the spirit of the nation and respect that. We have contacted directors around the world. They have been, again, superb in getting back to us, very quick to respond, very sympathetic to the situation, very understanding, sometimes offering solutions. Sometimes, of course, they say, yes, we do have some contracts, and how can we see your students best? So thankfully, we'd already created videos in the autumn term so they could see their dancing, and gradually we are getting some dancers employed. It's going to be a slower process, and but it is fantastic that some are finding contracts already in what I consider to be a limited work field for opportunities this year. So there's light, and there is. We're finding a way again. The students have been fantastic through this whole process, and yeah, we're just getting on with it, and I just hope we can get them back as soon as possible. But again, it's my hat off to the industry, worldwide industry, for the teachers, the students, the company directors, the dancers that have also, dancers of the company that have zoomed into our students to talk to them and to give them a little bit of a lift during this whole process. Suddenly you've got Stephen McRae on Zoom with the young 11-year-old boys, and their faces light up. It's Marinella Nunes talking to the girls. I mean, that's inspiration, and sharing also what they're going through, because they're also struggling, and giving them some tips. Why don't you do this? What about that? And that's really been incredible. Kevin O'Hare has been magnificent through this whole process as well. He's really tried to help where he can with the company, and that leads on to where we're going to go. We get the dancers back, and what we're trying to achieve in the rest of this year. It definitely is going to have effect on our end of year performances, and that, of course, worries me, because one of the most important things for me now is not just to get the kids back socialising, training in their education, but also back enjoying dance. And what they enjoy doing is, of course, performing. So my main objective is, to say, to get them back, to bring them back to full fitness and training as carefully as possible, but to find some way to create a number of performances, whether we even have to do it in year groups or whether we have to do it in smaller theatres, whatever we have to do, we will do it to make sure that they can perform. And I think I want them to enjoy their dancing again, because it's been a long time since they've been able to really get on a stage and with the lights and the audience clapping. And I think that's so important for them to know why they're dancing again. And again, the Royal Opera House, Kevin, has been fantastic in trying to talk us through how they've been operating for their performances and how we might be able to adopt a similar approach. And we're going to have to adapt to that, of course. So we're busy with yet another plan.